proactively prospecting the other ones. And so now I'm at a point where I want to, you know what I mean? Like there's still, things are still good. They're still coming in. I just want to focus this. I don't want to, let it, I want to actually capitalize on my, my investments here more.
Certainly. So you've realized in the world of real estate that we wake up every day unemployed, right?
Yeah.
And you get to a point in your business where it ebbs, it flows, and you get in that motion of, I'm so busy, oh my gosh. But then when that busyness goes away, you're like, where's my next deal coming from? And we end up in this roller coaster, and then we're like, oh, now we got to really pay attention to our leads. I got to do something different. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of where you might be?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's natural. So guess what? Great news. You're not alone. So what you're admitting is you're telling the whole world what they're experiencing themselves.
Right.
Which is why my position had organically become needed, because so many people were in this quandary of, I want to generate leads because I'm going to generate all this business if I can generate leads. And it's easy to throw money at things and see results because you see the leads come in, You're like, oh, if I just pick up the phone and call them, I'll have the reward. But to your point, we get busy in the world of real estate and we have all the fires to put out. So it's really easy to go, I got to take care of my fire and I don't have to call my leads because I already got this one that I'm dealing with. And we become in this mental state of a cat and mouse chase to the point where there's no mouse for the cat to catch. And we're like, okay, now we got 3,100 leads. Now what do I do with them? How do I get in here and make best use of my time? All the while, how do I do this? What do I do? What do I say? They've been in here for years. How am I going to go back and save face? Mm-hmm. Right? So we get into this mindset of, I'm going to talk myself out of doing this because I haven't done it for so long. Why should I start now?
Right.
And I really want to do this, but I'm going to make all the excuses known to man to prioritize other things before I jump into here because I think it's there. But if I start making phone calls and I hear that they've already purchased, I'm then definitely going to talk myself out of making any more phone calls.
I've had 2 emails in the last, sorry to cut you off, in the last 2 weeks that, thanks for the listings we just bought.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the great thing about that. You go, yes, I have really good leads in here. Yes. And I have to find the ones that haven't bought.
There's real buyers in there. That's exactly how I felt.
How did that happen? Exactly. So I guess the process, well, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, but I guess what the real underlying question is today for you to take away with based on Crystal's email is, now that you're ready to indulge on this adventure of, I want to make something out of these leads I've acquired over the last couple of years, what's my best way to go about doing it to get results? Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. So before we go into that, I want to ask you a couple questions in the regards of how long have you been in real estate?
8 years. I'm in my 8th year.
Okay. So when you started real estate your first year, where did the majority of your transactions come from?
Open houses.
Okay. So you're not a stranger to people.
No.
And second year, third year?
Second year, third year, I introduced internet lead generating.
Okay.
And, a number of my, I would say, I can't remember exactly, but we'll say 50-50 in the first year was sort of open house or my own source. And then 50% was AgentLocator or online. It wasn't AgentLocator at that time, actually. It was, another competitor. Anyways, and then third year, it sort of swung more into online, and I stopped doing what I initially started doing, which I was pretty good at. But I just had this, I always had this mindset that, if you're going to be in business, you also need to be online. And if you're going to be online, why not have a product like AgentLocator offers, something that captures and helps converts and has all these tools to help reach out to them, right?
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, has it primarily been getting lucky through the internet lead generation?
Yes.
Okay. What about the open houses? Did they go by the wayside?
No, I think because I naturally sort of became more listing focused and yeah, like, a lot of the buyers came with listings through AgentLocator and also just through other, means and referrals and so forth. Listings. And I just have for me, I'm like, I don't even want to lead generate. Like, I want to go out and do what I love to do, which is work on houses, flip houses, and invest in real estate. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. And I'm also focused on, building a team as well. And so I've been working with, with some agents to also,
perfect.
Introduce AgentLocator and online lead generation also, So, yeah.
And I think a big mistake, and I know if I had to go back and do it all over again, a big mistake that we make is we lose sight of the vision and the end result because we have to do something that we don't necessarily like to do. And by focusing on what we don't like to do is what leads to losing the passion for the end result, for the flipping of the houses, and for doing what you really, really want to do. And sometimes, yes, that's up here, but we have to go through a process to be able to get there to make that successful. And that requires doing things sometimes that we don't want to do. But the reality is, if we go through the motions of doing what we know we have to do, finding our joy in what we don't like to do, because we know there's an ends to a means, so to speak. So when we look at these leads from a different perspective with our vision in mind, saying, if I help enough people get what they're looking to get, it's automatically going to propel me to where I want to get. So here's the vision, and here's the process to walk that step ladder up to where you're going. So we have to find the joy in the moment that's going to take those steps to get us to where we're going. So it's finding the joy in something that we don't like to do because it's right in front of us. And, that for me was really the aha moment of, I have really shitty agents in my market, and I'm looking at my 3,100 leads going, oh my God, I have to prevent them from making a mistake because they don't know a shitty agent from a great agent. All they know is, hey, a licensed real estate agent can get me in a house. A licensed real estate agent can put a sign in my yard. They do not understand the intricacies of what that real estate agent can do or not do, how many transactions they've done that give them the knowledge to be able to negotiate in their best interest, because they don't care. They don't know they should care. And yes, that was a Zig Ziglar quote. That's one of my favorite. So, with that being said, and I asked that question because I really want to know where your mindset was of how does it make you feel, Mark, when you open this 3,100 leads up, when you log into your dashboard. How do you feel, first of all, whenever you log into here and you see 3,100 leads?
Good question. Wow. Pretty, I don't know, a lot of things. But I think you're right. Like, I think where you're going with this, like, it's a lot of people in there that, like, it's like where to start. I mean, obviously, I start with the people, the new, inquiries.
Yes.
But then, like I was discussing earlier, it's like, how do I effectively pull out information from there? I mean, we're taught that our database is everything, and blah 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 blah. And I'm using it. And, we're also marketing to them in other ways and pull them out and put them into other marketing formats. It's just that, it does. I think it's overwhelming. There. Sorry, long story.
That's exactly what I was expecting you to say. Not that I ever put expectations on anything, but that's exactly what I expected you to say. So now, with that overwhelming feeling, you can understand what I was saying about how easy it is to talk us out of what we're supposed to do because you don't even know where to start. It's like sending your 5-year-old into a room to say, clean it up. And they're like, I don't know what to do. But we expect them to do it. But even when we
Sorry, guys. Hey, Mark. Sorry about that.
What happened was that
I didn't mean to cut you off. I meant to stop it on my phone and it ended the entire meeting.
that's
We
okay.
just have to wait for Beverly to come back in. Awesome. She'll be here in a minute. Should be here in a minute.
I didn't realize you're gonna be putting me on the spot, and I would have cleaned up had I known.
Oh, well, it's breaking through some barriers, really, right? Being put on the spot sometimes is hard for a lot of people.
By the way, this is Allie Linton.
Hey, Allie.
Oh, she didn't sign the waiver. Sorry.
Oh.
Can't use it here. Give permission.
Yeah. Okay, so Beverly should be here in a second. I imagine she'll pop back in. Everyone else seemed to pop back in pretty quickly here. I'm not sure where she is.
Sorry.
Let's just see if she's.
John Carr.
Let's see. Ooh. And some good discussion, though, that you're having so far.
Yeah, she's like, no, I don't like it. She's just leading me down the path.
There you go. Sometimes it's all about different perspectives, too.
What I wanted to mention is that I kind of got a little more invigorated about wanting to do it because of the tools that AgentLocator has, like the tool to go call in through there, being able to listen back, and being able to go like click through, figure out, like analyze them, see if
Yeah.
So it's been helpful to do it, right?
Woo.
Are you back?
I don't even know what happened.
I know.
That was me. I did that by accident.
All right.
I meant to end a meeting on my phone, and then it ended the meeting for.
Well, and then it's like telling me I have to do an update. Like it wouldn't let me through.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's.
Let me reshare my screen. I hit record. So we're probably going to end up with two different recordings then.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Share. Okay, we're back where we were.
There we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened. I just turned my computer off and on, and it was still on the webinar. So I don't know what. It just decided that it was going to go to sleep.
Mercury is in retrograde. But anyway, I think we were in the process of talking about how easily now we're able to identify why we talk ourselves out of what we need to do, because it's overwhelming, and it's easier to go, oh, I gotta check my text messages, or oh, I gotta check my Facebook. There might be a client in there asking me to do something. So let's remove the overwhelming, and that is the whole purpose of my call filters, is to segment our database into workable groups, that it's not overwhelming to get through 5, 10, 25 leads at a time. Because the most important thing is, when you open this up, what is my highest priority lead that has the highest chance of wanting to make a move right now? Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is being convenient when it's time for them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the other way around. If it did, this business would be really easy.
Right.
And we'd have a lot more successful agents on the lead gen side. So when we look at the leads the pipeline stage is one of the most important stages to be able to identify the priority of where our leads are in our dashboard. And Mark, you said it, you just right away, your first initial thought is go to the new ones, because those were ones that just came in. So I want to make sure that I touch those. So that helps with the overwhelming piece a little bit. But then what do you do after that?
Right.
Well, the next piece is who's come in over the last couple of weeks that I haven't been able to get a hold of. And what we have to remember in the attempt of calling them, we can unconsciously make sure nobody answers the phone and communicates with us. If we have any fear of the phone, we can do things at the wrong time to know they're not going to answer the phone, or we won't let it ring long enough for them to answer the phone. So it's not about how many attempts we're making. It's about how many conversations we're having. And if we have any blocks that we have a fear of having a conversation, then we stop what we're going to be doing. And I have a really funny story. This just happened this morning. I was over at my boyfriend's house this morning. He had a phone call come through, and you could tell on the other end of the phone, very broken accent. It was completely a telemarketer with like medical insurance. And he knows what I do, so he likes to really play with these people. And it was I wish I could have recorded it. So the guy says, "Hey, I'm calling because based on your medical insurance, you may need," he's had major neck surgery. I mean, he's a bionic man. He has rods all through his back. I'm just wondering if you're in need of any braces or anything. Do you have neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain? And this is what he said. He goes, "I've just been diagnosed with cancer and I only have a week to live." Oh. You know what the guy said on the other end of the phone? Sir, I'm sorry, but we're not going to charge you anything. Are you in need of a brace?" Serious as a heart attack. And he hung up the phone at that point. I looked at him, I go, that is why I don't teach scripting. He did not even hear what Mark said on the other end of the phone.
Right.
All he heard was, I have to look at the next place in my script. So when we start identifying our leads as real people.
Yeah.
It kind of takes that pressure away, and we just have to go in and do it. So now who are we going to go in and do it with? So I'm going to ask you this in regards to the pipeline stage. When a lead comes in, they come in as new or not set. And then if we don't get a hold of them, they're in tried to contact. How confident are you that the leads are in the proper stages? If you've never talked to them, are they in tried to contact?
Little to no confidence.
Okay. And that's okay.
Because, like just in the last, I don't know, like 3 months, had we even set up any filters. And then in the last 2 weeks, maybe since I pulled my head out of my butt, that I've been actually using those filters.
Yeah, we created them and then had a call last week and then.
No, so for years, there's been no organization, right? And so, up until now, so what do we have there?
So that filter there, but it was because he's got so many old leads that we were focusing on the new registration ones. Because if we go into that one, he's got a lot.
And you're seeing my global one, so you're seeing all the leads who are assigned to other people. Well, Alexander mentioned, you'll see him now.
Okay. So I'm going to do this one right here.
There you go. Not Alexander Linton. Exactly.
Okay.
So these are just mine. Anything that's just assigned to me or associated with my name.
Okay. So when I do my categories, and there's no right way, there's no wrong way, it's the way that works for you. And when I look at this, there's nothing wrong with this at all. But I like to, when I see 60 leads, that overwhelms me. It's too many for me. I'm like,
and it's because you asked me how confident am I in being in the right? Very low, because they're not. It's because I get to that, I just started getting through, I think that was at 75 the other day or something.
So you're getting it down. So I'm going to take this a little step further.
Please, thank you.
All right. So what I want us to think about right now is the new leads coming in are obviously the highest priority. And how many leads do you have coming in on a day? 1, 2, 3.
I don't know. I'm getting about 120 a month. I'm just going to show you.
So you're getting
Between 100 and 120 a month.
and I suck at math, so divide that by 30.
It should be about 3 to 4.
So when you start thinking about new leads coming in, you have 3 to 4 new coming in a day. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you have a filter just for the new, there's only 3 or 4 in there. It's always going to be zeroed out because you know exactly your new leads.
Mm-hmm.
The next phase of leads, because as soon as you make that human attempt of a contact, they're trying to contact. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then we have levels of priority of tried to contact. Right. And what happens when I go in to clean up a dashboard, when I saw, I'm just going to go and clear this out, and I'm just going to go to new, not set. Pipeline. This is where it really starts to drive home to be able to not get overwhelmed. Okay. Right here, you have 372 leads that have never moved to tried to contact because the phone call and text have never happened. Okay. Yeah. But reality is these leads can go from today to 3, 4, 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at 372 leads, how do we segment them to know who the priority is out of these 372? Well, the reality is forget the new lead because they ain't new no more.
No.
So what we want to do, if they're in, you've probably never talked to these people unless there was email correspondence, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we might as well just move them into a tried to contact stage so that they fall in the priorities of tried to contact based on activity. So I'm going to walk you through this real quick. So new leads, the second stage is who registered in the last 14 days. Because I want to stay more on top of the leads that registered in the last 14 days because I'm probably not going to get I already purchased on the leads that just in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they're my higher priority. They deserve a little bit more of my time. And I just want to keep calling them, but I don't want to think about who I have to call and who I called yesterday and who I didn't call yesterday. I just want all of them in one group. The ones that registered in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
The next priority of tried to contact are the leads that registered 15 or more days ago. So what happens after 2 weeks, I'm not calling you every couple of days anymore because you ain't answering your freaking phone. Right. So now I'm only going to call you once a week because I have new leads coming in. I got to move you through the filter and start moving you down to where you're not my priority anymore because you've been inactive.
Right.
So what happens after that 14th day, the try to contact are going to fall into another filter of, all right, all these people, if they're actively engaged in the email sequencing, they're my other highest priority because I don't care if they were in my dashboard 15 days ago, 115 days ago, or 515 days ago. If they're actively engaged, I don't want to miss them. So by having just those 3 filters, not only do we know we've never spoke to them and all our job is finding out where they are in the process. We don't have to think about our conversation. We just have to think about, hey, I know you've been looking at homes online, just wondering, where are you in the process? What's happening? So when we look at our leads and segment them that way, we can take all of these 372 leads. We can move every single one of them tried to contact. They're going to drop right into the exact filter. And because if they're not active in the last 30 days, they're going to go to an inactive tried to contact, which even are a lower priority on your totem pole. So we've just moved all of your leads that you never spoke to from you've registered in the last 14 days, you've registered in the last 15 days, and you've been actively engaged with emails in the last 30. And you haven't been actively engaged in 30 or more days, so you're even a lower priority. So once we have all of our leads in a proper stage of the pipeline, we don't have to think about anything.
Right.
They just automatically fall right into that filter. So the other piece beyond after the conversation, the contacted stage is I had a conversation with you and you're worth my time, so I'm going to set a task. Or you're kind of really loopy, and I don't know that I really want to work with you because you're looking for a needle in a haystack and you're not making much sense. So I'm going to put a tag on you and just go, bye, Felicia. So we're moving those leads out of the tried to contact stage into the shelf of the grocery store and saying, okay, I talked to you, but you're not worth my time. I talked to you, you are worth my time. So we never have to think about, so when I think about my priority, this is my priority. So what we're going to do, all of your leads right now that are in new lead status, I'm moving them to try to contact, and you're going to be able to see how this process is going to work.
Okay.
So all we need to do that, I'm going to check mark. I'm going to select all. We're going to go up to apply actions. Change pipeline. Try to contact. Done.
Oh, there it is. Try to contact. Oh, okay.
So now all the monkeys are spinning on the wheel and they're going, they're moving all their leads to the proper stage. And now I'm going to go up and I'm going to remove. And we are going to go to pipeline. We're going to go to try to contact. And we, of course, want everybody that has a good phone number. Oh, I just did email. I meant phone. So because it's a call list, we want the unknown, the valid. And we want the leads that registered the last 14 days. So now what's going to happen, if you didn't move leads out of the new lead status, they're right in here. That's who's registered with a good or invalid, or a good or an unknown number in your last 14 days. All I do with this list, 17 isn't as overwhelming, is it?
Oh, no, of course not.
Yeah. So all you have to do here, Mark, if you're calling them every 2 to 3 days, all you have to do is go here to last contact, show most recent. Whoop, hello. Look, 6 days, 5 days.
So the last time we called, oh, I see, right.
Yeah, so these are 1 day. You don't need to call these people. So all you need to do is call the first page.
Let's count how many of those are mine and how many are Allie's. No, I'm just kidding.
It's majority of yours.
I'm sure they're the same. Equally.
So let's do this. And are you as main agent? Is that where I can find you?
Yeah.
But I have, the problem is I have.
You have to do the,
you
you have to do is not.
I have to do is not?
Yeah. Because I had other team members in there that we just changed the name into me. We didn't amalgamate it.
Yeah.
So do it that way?
Yeah.
It's the inverse.
It's not too bad.
7.
All right.
So 10 Allie, 7.
All right, so I'm going to do it. So this is second priority that we've set.
BBC 2.
Balanced Business Consulting. It's not British Columbia, I promise.
I thought it was Beverly something. Okay.
Balanced Business Consulting. So this is your list. 6 days, 6 days, 6 days. Oh, 1 day. All you have to do is call 1, 2, 4 people. Woohoo! That's like a walk in the park, right?
Because it's
because you just tried them 1 day ago.
It's been more than how many times? Like how many times would I want?
If this number is over a 2 or a 3, that's when I would call it.
Okay.
Yep. And to increase your chances of them answering the phone, don't do it at the same time every day. If it's convenient for you to walk in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning and make the phone calls, and you're calling every couple of days at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they have habits, they're never going to answer the phone. So every time you go into this filter, you want to make sure that you're changing it up, like jump in the morning, jump in the afternoon. It don't take long to make 4 calls, right? And as long as you stay on top of it, it's never going to get behind you.
Yeah.
So now what happens, let's clear this out.
Okay, so those are there. Okay,
so now we're going to do pipeline. And we're going to do to contact. What's that, Mark?
BBC 3?
Yep, you got it. It's your third priority.
Which is 15 or more days.
This one is phone validity. Is unknown.
Where are you, Beverly?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
But I'm a Nats fan because I used to live up in the DC area, and they're going to the World Series, so we're very happy. This is
Jay's tanked.
right.
But the Leafs killed it last night.
Who did?
The Leafs.
There's that filter.
Yeah.
This is activity. This is your activity within the last 30 days. Crystal, can you tell him what that means? Can you tell everybody what that means, please?
That means they've been active in one way, shape, or form in the last 3 days. So it depends on if they're on the automated system. Generally, it's referring to the listings that they've engaged in the email with listings. When it's through the legacy, which is the older CRM, people who have branded sites, it triggers like every little bit of activity that lead does. But at least you know they've engaged in some way, shape, or form to be falling into this list within the last 3 days.
So what we've done, Mark, is I've moved all the leads into, well, let's actually do this now because we have to do main agent.
Oh, main agent is not.
Still a lot. Well, did it save? Did it resave it the way that I just said it, Crystal?
Did it save it? It should.
Yeah,
if you
I
update
saved
it
first, and then I went back and
well,
saved
just hit update. Just hit the update button. That's what'll override it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
So
what we just did, Mark, is you had leads that were in new lead status that weren't falling into possibly a filter. So now we have you're new. You have no more new leads in the dashboard until someone comes back in. And that's usually my BBC one. It's just new, not set. Because I just like to go bing, bing, bing. So now 101 leads, that's a lot of leads. But we do the exact same thing here. So remember what we were talking about? The first 2 weeks, we're going to call you every 2 to 3 days. But if you haven't answered the phone in those 2 weeks, and I've attempted 5 or 6 times, I'm not going to keep attempting you as often. I'm just going to move it to once a week. So when we go to last contact, least recent, we're going to do the same thing here with this number, but it's going to be 7 days. So what forces this to happen? Look at this lead right here. October 28th of 2014, they were active. They did something. They didn't look at any houses. And what is this one right here, Crystal?
there's one search set up for them. There's one search
Okay, yeah.
created for them. Yeah.
That was my.
So
these are leads. So he's got 2 systems. So these are leads that are actually getting listings through our previous method. And I can tell just because the price point is in there in that price city column there. So they're receiving it differently. So they may have been actively looking at listings. It doesn't display the same way it does with the automated system.
So you're not seeing this there?
You can. You don't see the number, but you do when you hover over it.
Okay. Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
So that is the beauty.
Oh, look at that. So it has been looking at properties right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just shows the 0 because he's on the legacy. The listings dot is your automated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still ticking the 22 days. So This is where your gold is. And that's why it's so important to keep your leads in the right stages of the status, because here's the most beautiful thing about this filter. You're organically building your call list because these are just people that are active in the last 30 days, right? Of your whole dashboard that registered 15 or more days ago. So what happens if you have a lead in here that's from back in 2014 that has been dormant for that long and they decide to open an email or they decide to look at properties, guess what you're going to know? The day that they logged in, if you're checking this filter every day, you will never miss that lead, because what makes them, if they've been dormant for 2 years, what makes them all of a sudden look at
well, they're thinking about maybe something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what can possibly happen is they're like, oh God, I got to unsubscribe from this because I read about it. That can happen too. But it's bringing the cream to the top of the cup. And you don't have to think about losing somebody that's actively looking that you've never spoke to. So you have 101 leads. How do you break that down into workable chunks? Well, I'm looking at 0 phone calls here. I would go down until, so when I work a 100,
you know that, like, in my own defense, they didn't have the dialer system or the stuff then, or you know what I mean, like the little because it was a lot of it. Anything from Toronto daily listings, well, oftentimes came in from the old system. Anyway.
Well, which makes sense. So, but still, reality is, even if it did show, it would be a long, long time ago that a phone call happened. Correct?
It probably, only when they first came in, and that's it. And then we didn't have the little tab to go called, left message, or whatever, right?
Yes. So that's the beautiful thing about when I see a list of 101, and I'm just going to go to, let me put more on a page here.
There's a bunch of sellers in there. I better get
No, I was getting a little happy there. Because I'm like, I know you said you wanted to focus on the seller side. All right, so I'm going to put 50 on a page to reduce our size, our page numbers.
So at different times over the last few years, I had a campaign going for sellers. So I've accumulated a bunch of people that were interested in the value of their home at that time.
Yep.
I haven't really stayed in touch with them. So
well, look at this. You got double lenders sitting in here. So here is my suggestion. Mm-hmm. How do we eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Correcto. Now, if I'm saying these are once a week phone calls, if you call all 101, what's going to happen in 7 days?
I won't have anyone on this list.
Well, no, in 7 days, they're all going to be back on your list.
Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Right? Except for the ones that you spoke
I'll have a lot of lead. I'll have a lot of contact. I'll have listings.
He's gonna talk to all of them, so there's not going to be anyone there.
The problem is, you see how much I talk?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get all through all 100.
So here is the beauty of a filter. It's dynamic. So after day 30, that they have not been actively engaged with their email, they're going to fall out of this list.
Right.
Or you move them to a different stage of the pipeline, they come out of this list. If you have a conversation, you move them to make contact, you're down to 100. I can promise you this, out of 101, you're going to have 30 people, and out of that 30, 20 are going to be bad phone numbers, and 10 are going to be conversations. So what I can probably guess out of 101, you're going to have a good 20 bad phone numbers out of this 101, a good 20, if not 30 bad phone numbers.
Sure.
You're going to have 15 to 20 conversations. But we don't want to go balls to the wall today because then you got nothing to do tomorrow. Right? So I always suggest doing 20 at a time. Do 20 today, 20 tomorrow. And I would start with the activity because the ones that are at that 28, 29, 30 mark, they're going to fall out.
Yeah, of course. So start with the ones that are most active. Always.
Yes. Yes. So, start with the ones that have the activity that they're at the 27, 28 days. So if we go here, last activity, show most recent last. Is that right?
No, first.
Right, 30 days. So these are the ones that I would focus on because they're going to fall out of the filter tomorrow.
Oh, I see. You're saying speak to them to see if there's any chance of anything. Otherwise, they're going to fall off.
Exactly. They're going to fall out of the list. But this way, at least you get one phone call in, but they're not your highest priority. And that's why we set the list the way we set the list. Because if you don't get a hold of them, let them fall out. Because guess what? You had how many leads that registered the last 14 days ago, they're going to fall in here on day 15 of registration.
Right.
So this list is going to be ever evolving, and it's also going to be picking up everybody that become inactive. So let me show you this piece. We're going to go back here and we're going to clear this. And we're going to go to
quick question. That filter, the BBC 123, are they will everyone who's on the system with the team be able to have that same filter? Like, will Alexander
if you save it as a company, yes.
Okay.
I saved it as a personal, so all you have to do whenever you go back in and you click on it, just click on the company and just update it, right, Crystal?
Pardon? Yeah.
For him to update the filter to change it to company, he just clicks on the filter, hits company, and update filter.
Oh,
Yeah, he can basically, so he can resave it. So if he saves it as a company filter, then
Everyone gets
everyone has
Yeah,
access to that
but you
filter.
might have to recreate a new one because
Yeah.
And
it's not Alexander.
yeah.
Well, that's why he has some under the personal ones that have that filter. So if she's pulling it up, obviously, because she can't see his personal filters. Only he can see his personal.
Gotcha. Okay.
I see. Yeah. I want to share. We want to share those ones together. I think those ones are the ones to use right now, right?
Okay.
Last activity.
Mm-hmm.
Older than 30. I'm gonna do 31. Okay. What I just did here is I took every lead that is in try to contact stage and put them in these 3 filters.
Yes.
So what this is right here is you've never spoke to them and they have not been actively engaged after 31 days. So what happens when they come out of here, so we're moving our leads in order of your priority of how much time they deserve from you.
Right.
So we went from every 2 to 3 days attempting that phone call to every 7 days attempting a phone call to probably more than like just once a month. And this is going to be the biggest bulk of your dashboard. And here's the most beautiful thing about this filter is we know we haven't spoke to them. I don't want to do this, not. There we go. Okay. So we have 1,659 leads that are inactive with the emails. Guess what you can do?
Tell me.
You can send an email to 1,659 leads and say, hey, just wondering, are you in the process of buying a home? Where are you in the process of purchasing a home or selling a home? And guess what's going to happen? They may engage in email and they're going to fall in your BBC3 filter because they just became active in an email and you don't have to think about it. You're organically building your call filter of priority because they acted on an email.
You can also pull up a report as well for his NAS, so he'll be able to see who opened it, who clicked on it.
Well, if they open it and click on it, doesn't it automatically?
It will. It should essentially, but he'll be able to see the report as well if he wants to be able to look at individuals on an individual. He could definitely do that.
Can I just ask a question before I forget? So the 4 filters now, BBC 1 through 4.
I'm gonna make them all personal so don't confuse the process.
Yeah, also I'll do that. I'll switch it up and make it.
Let me go back to
Ali.
I was.
How much time should I basically give for each priority level? So you said in the third one, 20.
Are you ready for this?
20 calls.
So watch. I'm gonna do BBC 1 real quick.
Yep.
Just so I can prove my point. Should be 0. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna save that. This is the reality.
What was your point? The point was.
All right, so this is my point. Priority 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How long should it take you? How many licks does it take to get the center of a lollipop? That's why I created these filters, is because I have to make everything a game. Because I like to, it's kind of like, I don't know, are you one that times yourself? Are you like, I'm going to do it in like 30 seconds less time this time? I'm just like competitive like that.
I'm not that competitive.
Okay. So this, all right. So when you click on this filter, new leads, how long is a new lead going to take you? So in reality, the very first call that we make, it should be going the whole way to a voicemail because we want to identify what's on the other end of that phone.
Yeah. You want to know if they say their name or whatever. Yeah. You want to hear their voice. Yeah.
Or if you're using the dialer and you don't get a voicemail, it just disconnects, call it from your regular phone and make sure if it's a good number or a bad number.
Right.
So if it's a bad number, guess what? Remember in that 101 leads, I said 30 of them are probably going to be bad phone numbers?
Yeah.
If we're eliminating them onesies and twosies at a time, and then we only have 70 leads to dial, we're not wasting time. We're calling the leads that we haven't confirmed their phone number or we know it's a valid number, because I set your filters to only have those. So when we mark them as a bad phone number, we know that's an email campaign.
Right.
Okay. So that is going to help decrease your time, because you don't want to go through 101 calls and letting it all go to voicemail. You'll be like poking out your eyeballs, because it takes from the time that it rings and the time the voicemail picks up, it can be on the upswing of 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Okay.
I don't have that kind of time. But if I'm only doing it one or two a day, it's palatable.
Right.
So this is only going to take you a couple of minutes a day, unless you have a conversation. If you have a conversation, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Priority 2.
Mhm.
These leads registered the last 14 days. We're going to, I think it's already in show most recent last, contact call. It's already in order. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 dials.
Right.
23 seconds a dial. If one of them answer the phone, it may take you 5 to 10 minutes to plow through here.
Sure.
Priority 3. When you are caught up, priority 3 is going to only take you 10 to 15 minutes, because you're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to go to last contact.
Like to start doing the 20 calls a day kind of thing.
You have 100 in here, 20, 40, 60, 5 days.
That's the 5 days, yeah.
Yep.
That's where it's going to, like the 20 calls might take, obviously if it just goes right to voicemail, I'm not going to take any time. But,
Do 10. Do 10.
Yeah.
It's probably 10.
But if I go right to voicemail on every one of them, you just keep going.
So I did it so when you get caught up with this, because right now your strategy needs to be based on the activity, because you want to make sure that the ones that were 30, 29, 28 days don't fall off until you get to them. Okay. So my next few days, and until I got through my 100, I would be doing it based off of the activity. Least recent, or least recent.
Most recent last, you're saying,
Most
because they'll be
last, it's going to pull the, Okay. Yep, right here. So if you put 20 on a page,
Sure.
22 days, you could technically just go down, because you know that you're going to be in here calling 10, 12, 15 more tomorrow.
Okay.
You can just go down to your 26 days. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 10 people. So that way, honestly, when your dashboard is caught up, honest to God, it should only take you 30 minutes to get through your top 3 priorities and cherry pick the most important leads that are in your database. I hate to use that term, but it's a really good term, because what you're doing, but you've organically set it up to be on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Then your extra credit, as you're having conversations with the people, whenever you're putting them in the aisle of the store and putting them on the shelf of, these people were looking for a friend, and these people said they had an agent, and these people are relocating, and these people are renting, for your extra credit, you can go back to those groups and say, oh my God, I haven't talked to that person in like 6 months, and they were just looking at a house. I just want to see what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other extra credit is this other priority that I set of the majority of your entire dashboard. You can do a couple of things. You can say, you know what? I'm going to tweak the activity just to the leads that haven't been active in 30 to 90 days, because those are a little bit higher of a priority than someone that hasn't been active in 3 years.
Sure.
So when you go into your dashboard now at 659 leads, if we want to be strategic today and go, you know what? I'm going to call all the leads that, let's go registration date. Let's show most recent last. So October 24th of 2013. Is that going to actually...
Last 5
properties. Oh, here's what happens. If they looked so long ago and the properties are no longer active, it's not going to give you the MLS numbers. Am I correct?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So this would be somebody that it would be like calling to see, hey, you registered 5 years ago.
So these leads.
Yeah.
So these leads, when you just want to have fun.
Talk to lead, has agent. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So these leads, you're like, I'm going for no. I want to see how many no's I can get today, and I'm just going to have some freaking fun with this, because when I talk to them, guess what? I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
So these leads, your strategy, your mindset that day is you're expecting, and I hate to be negative, but that's the only way we can like train our brain to accept no. So these leads, I would be like, oh, hey, Joe. Hey, I'm a kind of a blast from the past here, but quite a few years ago, you were looking at homes and da-da-da. Just what, did you ever buy a house?
Mm-hmm.
I promise you there's gold in these leads. They just got a little misplaced.
Yeah.
Because they have so much access to so much data online, they didn't need your website.
Yeah.
So it's really in what's my goal today when I sit down on my dashboard. But literally, what I like to do first is I like to shake the tree. I like the apples to drop instead of climbing the damn tree, right?
Yeah.
So all you're going to do is shake the tree. And what I would do is, if you're going to blast out an email to a couple hundred at a time, because you don't get near the response. You don't get near the amount of responses on emails as you do text messages.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not segregate. Yeah, I did do this by phone validity. This list would even be bigger if I didn't do phone validity.
Right.
So what you want to do is, if you're going to send out a blast text, only do 50 at a time. Or I promise you'll be a slave to your phone. When we did our webinar,
I did it last week. I learned about 2 weeks ago. 1,500 people. I was like, I did 200 at a time to 1,500 people. And I was like, oh shit, what do I do?
I'm a slave to my phone. I can't even respond.
I think everyone learns by experience with that
Absolutely.
one.
And that's the beautiful thing of this. You can't screw it up. Because guess what? You haven't converted them yet anyway. So if you screw it up, you didn't have them in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. I mean,
and to learn a lesson is way more valuable than to lose something you never had.
Yeah, right.
That's the reality, right?
So I know we only have a minute left, 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh crap. Carly, this is amazing, really, like very helpful. I've been using this for years now, and I know I haven't been using it to its full potential, and so I really appreciate Agent Locator, like having you and as a resource for us. But I do want to ask one quick question before you go.
Yeah.
Is the also all of these good filters and everything. I want to know if how I'm getting through like sort of evaluating each lead contact is an efficient way, is a good way. Like
when you say evaluate, what do you mean?
Okay, so for example, I'm going to start a call now. We'll just say go to BBC, say 2 or 3, or start here. Fine. Okay, so you click this guy, and immediately you size him up, and you say, well, this guy's unsubscribed himself.
Waste of time, because you're probably not going to answer the phone.
Pardon me?
Waste of time, because he's probably not going to answer the phone.
Yeah, so you kind of size them up. I quickly, scroll up and down, and I just kind of look and see, because I've had so many different campaigns coming in from different things, so I always, So
the main thing that you want to look at is, where did the lead come from?
Yeah.
And do we know if they're a listing lead or a buyer lead? So I look at this right here. All I'm looking for is, oh, dude, I am such a blast from the past. I'm just checking in. I know quite a few years ago, you had been online doing some research on real estate.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. And I'm speaking from absolute experience, Mark. When I first started lead generation, my goal, I can get through, no joke, within a 30-minute time frame, I can get through 60 dials. Easy. Now, the reason being is I got my call filter and I just roll. I don't care what the situation is, because the situation is I've never spoke to you. And I'm just trying to find out where you are in the process. So nothing else matters, because they know where they are.
Yeah.
And what would happen, my goal was 40 leads a day. I could only I maxed at 15, which is ridiculous whenever I think about it, because I took so much time sizing them up. And the second mistake that I made was I would talk to them on the phone for 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Right.
So I could never, because I'm giving all my value, I never said, hey, we should probably meet so we can really get to know each other and see if this is going to be a working relationship that's going to work for both of us.
Geez, that's huge right there.
My conversations.
I give a lot of value on the phone. I give way too much value.
And you know, all you're doing, Mark, is giving them, because you haven't earned their value, you haven't earned their trust yet.
Yeah.
And you're just telling them, I'm giving you all the market information. So when you're out driving around and you call the listing agent, you can just, you now know what's going on with the market. Right. So that's where I started really honing in, because I couldn't get through calling my leads because I would give too much value over the phone. And then I'm like, well, why won't they meet with me? They didn't need to. I gave them everything. Yeah. So I started going, that's why we should meet. That's why we should meet. Why don't we just get together? I can get to know more about what it is your wants and your likes. And if we're online, if you're in my office and we put the properties up on the big screen and you tell me what you don't like, what you do like, and let me ask you this question. I know there are couples that both people are not on the same page. But we got to make sure that expectations are meeting both husband and wife.
Yeah.
And the
so we got to get you both in here together.
Yes.
What time tomorrow at 4 p.m. works best for you? Yes.
Yeah. I love that. That is like, that is a mind F beyond all mind F. That's awesome. So don't take time, because all you're doing, Mark, is you're wasting time on what you don't really want to do. It's like, if I know more information, I'll be able to have a better conversation. But the reality is, hey, I saw that you were looking at homes, or hey, I know at one point you were researching some real estate online. That's all that matters. Yeah. They know where they are, and you know what your purpose is of the phone call. Get right to the point.
Get to the point.
Nothing else matters. Yeah. Get to the people that are going to answer the phone. And the longer you take researching, the less people you're going to have answering the phone.
I hear you. Right.
Crystal, awesome. I think, is there anything in the chat? Because I know there's a lot of things in the chat.
No, I've been kind of chatting. They're just asking questions as you're going along with respect to sending mass emails. That's it. We did have one question on Facebook, just a general question with respect to a lead that comes in, let's say in the evening, so 10 p.m. or later. Should they call them the next morning, or should they wait until they're active again?
Next day, absolutely.
Next day, yeah.
My goal is always within a 24-hour time frame, depending on what time they register, because now that I say that with a grain of salt, because it really, really is a factor of how was the lead generated. Are they asking to see a certain property? Are they asking a question about a certain property? That's a higher priority than someone that's just Google searching. Because someone that's just Google searching, they actually almost get offended because you've jumped on them so quickly, because then you seem a little needy. So, the reality is, if they come in at 10 o'clock at night, I remember years ago, I was sitting at a Keller Williams convention, and there was a team that was up on the panel, and they're like, we have the midnight call center. I'm like, huh? They're like, yeah, all the leads that register in the middle of the night, we're on them. I'm like, kind of smart. Huh? Because if they're at work, right? If they're online in the middle of the night, who else is going to be calling them in the middle of the night? I'm like, that's ballsy. I couldn't do it. But hey, it worked for them. Whatever works. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with calling them at 10 o'clock at night. I would not be comfortable doing it, but if they're registered and they're right there, that's customer service, man.
Sure. Absolutely. I think that's it.
That's it.
It was great. It was great. I think a lot of people benefited just from watching you put together those different safe filters, for sure. So if anyone is watching and they need help, by all means, reach our support team. We can definitely assist you with helping you set those up. It can be a little bit overbearing for some. Some people are a little bit more technical than others, for sure. But I think there's a lot of value that could be taken away from this session, for sure.
For sure. Mark, what was your big aha? What was your big takeaway?
Oh my God. It was like half an hour in. I had this like,
awesome.
Just, one bite at a time, and like, I know that like we discussed, like the having a couple responses in the last 2 weeks, like thanks for all the lists, thanks for all the help. I wish, could have bought with you. One was really nice, and then another one was like already bought a condo, and I asked for girls. But anyways, they, seeing that there's real valid humans in there that,
And Mark, if you see my other webinars, I always ask, the agents, think about your own personal moves in your life and think about the reason that prompted that move. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, every lead in here, you can't make them move based on their circumstances. All we can do is hope that we have the solution to what they're trying to obtain. So we can get somebody off the fence if they're like waffling. But the reality is, if they have to wait to move because they have to have X amount of money in savings for their down payment, unless they hit the lottery, there's really nothing that we can make happen, but we can attempt to problem solve by, are there any loan products out there? Is there anything else? Could we change the price point? Is there anything that we could do?
RRSP loans. Yeah, exactly.
So we can't make them make the move. All we have to do, all our job is find out where they are in the process and when do they need you, period.
Right.
And we only know that by asking the questions. Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. I need to rewatch what we.
Were you able to record it the second time in?
I did. So it's going to be a little bit tricky because.
Okay, so I got the first one and the second one probably because it's probably separate. So if you need me to send it to you, just let me know.
Sure. I will let you know because I started recording it when I was on my phone, and then it was just one of those technical.
So Mark, how happy are you that I didn't say you have to spend 2 hours a day in your dashboard?
Right. Yeah. 30 minutes. Yeah. Once I get it down to a manager.
I gave you permission to be like a half hour a day.
You gave me permission to do exactly what I normally do, except do a half an hour of work.
On the right leads. On the right leads.
On the right leads.
So less really is more. If you're really focusing on what you should be focusing on, you don't have to work so hard.
Can I have another session? I mean, when's the next time we can meet?
I know. I saw somebody that just have Bev call your leads. I am not calling leads anymore. I am only training.
Yes. You have to see that you're actually calling your leads now, Mark.
You can see that?
Oh, I can go in there and see how many calls you've made.
Yeah, good.
I can track you. Stay on you. Accountability there is like, I don't see any calls logged this week. What's going on? Awesome. Well, thank you both, Mark and Beverly, and everyone that joined.
Thanks.
It was great.
Crystal, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. You're very welcome.
Okay.
We will see everyone in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Bye.